I never thought a Craigslist ad would change my life. But as I stood in front of the full-length mirror in the waiting room of a downtown loft studio, tugging nervously at the hem of my too-tight t-shirt, something in me whispered that today was going to be different. Maybe it was the way my pulse danced behind my ears, or the way I kept checking my reflection, not to admire but to assess. Do I even look like someone who belongs here? It wasn't just about modeling. It never had. Then, this was about proving something to myself, about feeling seen, even if only through the lens of a camera. The ad had sounded casual enough. Looking for fresh faces, no experience needed. Must be comfortable in your own skin. That last line stuck with me. Comfortable, as if that was something I'd mastered. I shifted on the narrow couch, pretending to scroll through my phone while sneaking glances at the closed studio door. Behind it, I knew he was there. Jordan Knight, the photographer, the one who posted the ad, the one I hadn't seen in almost 4 years. We went to high school together. He was a couple years older, tall and moody in a way that made people lean in just to be ignored by him. I was the quiet art kid with a messy sketchbook and a well-practiced smile. Our paths barely crossed, except once. Junior year, backstage during rehearsals, when I dropped a prop and he helped me pick it up. He said my hands looked like they were made for something delicate. I never forgot that. He probably didn't even remember me. But I remembered everything. How his voice dipped when he was focused. How he leaned in close when he talked, like you were the only one in the room. How he laughed with his whole chest when something caught him off guard. So when I saw his name attached to the ad, my stomach did that weird, traitorous twist. And I applied before I could talk myself out of. And now sitting here, my knee bouncing uncontrollably, I wondered if this was the stupidest idea I'd ever had. The door opened. My heart lurched, and then I saw him, Jordan, wearing a simple black tee and faded jeans, camera slung around his neck, hair slightly messy in that perfectly accidental way. His eyes swept the room, then landed on me, and he smiled, warm, familiar, like he did remember. "Hey, you must be Eli." My breath caught. "Come on in," he said, stepping aside. "Let's see what you've got." And just like that, the past and the present collided in the space between us. The studio was warmer than I expected, filled with soft, natural light streaming through wide windows and bouncing off white brick walls. A faint scent of coffee and something vaguely citrusy hung in the air. I stepped inside, suddenly hyper-aware of the sound of my own footsteps. Jordan gestured toward a backdrop draped in pale gray linen. "You can drop your bag anywhere. We'll just start with some basic shots, nothing too serious." I nodded, my throat dry. "Cool, yeah, basic is good." He grinned at that, adjusting the strap on his camera. "Still talking disclaimers." "Huh?" My eyes snapped to his. "You remember that?" "Of course I do," he said, raising a brow. "You used to start every sentence with, 'Sorry, but—'" "Even when you were just asking for a pencil." I laughed, nervous but a little touched. "I've been trying to quit." "Progress looks good on you." That made my stomach do a quiet flip. I found a stool to perch on while he fiddled with the lighting. "I didn't even know you were still in the city." "Yeah, I left for a bit. Did a program in LA, came back last year. I like it better here. Less performative." He glanced at me. "What about you?" "Still drawing?" "A little. I mostly work retail now. But I try to keep a sketchbook going." "You always had a good eye. I remember you sketched Mr. Berger during an entire fire drill once. You saw that." I blinked, remembering the goofy caricature I did of our physics teacher looking like a startled chicken. "Yeah," he said, smiling. I laughed for 10 minutes. That was the thing with Jordan. He remembered the small stuff, the stuff no one else ever seemed to. We fell into easy conversation while he adjusted the lens, the years folding between us like pages in a photo album. He told me about shooting album covers for indie bands, I told him about surviving mall Christmas shifts. We traded stories until I forgot I was supposed to be nervous. But then he said, "Okay, let's do something a little more natural. Try taking off the hoodie?" I froze. "Oh, yeah, sure." My fingers hesitated at the hem. It wasn't even about modesty, really. It was about standing there, exposed, with him looking, and the way his eyes flicked to my chest and then quickly away didn't help. "Sorry," he said suddenly. "I should have asked if you're comfortable." "No, it's okay," I said, pulling the hoodie over my head. "Just cold hands." He smirked. "I can crank the heat up. Or you could complain about it until your face turns red, like you used to in gym class. You really do remember everything." "Photographic memory," he said, lifting the camera. Click. A few more shots passed in silence. Then came the next complication. A loud thunk overhead, followed by a flicker, and the lights went out. Jordan sighed. "Power's been acting up. All week. Storm knocked something out on the roof last night." "Can we keep going?" I asked, trying not to sound disappointed. "Not in this light," he said, moving toward the window. "But I have candles and blankets. It's going to take a bit for the circuit to reset. You okay waiting it out?" "Sure, as long as you're not secretly a serial killer." He gave me a mock-offended look. Only on Wednesdays, the studio dimmed into something softer, quieter. He lit a few candles, casting warm shadows across the room. We ended up sitting on the floor, knees almost touching, sipping from mismatched mugs of tea he brewed from a dusty tin labeled "Creative." "Juice." "So," he said, glancing over, "what made you answer the ad?" I looked at him, at the way the candlelight touched the edge of his jaw. Honestly, I think I wanted to feel like I could be seen and maybe remembered. He didn't look away. "You were always worth seeing, Eli." And I didn't know what to say to that. So I said nothing, letting the silence stretch between us like something sacred. But I didn't miss the way his eyes lingered, just a little too long. The storm outside deepened, a low, rolling thunder reverberating through the old loft walls. The windows rattled slightly in their frames, and the shadows around us grew longer, softened by the candlelight. I glanced at my phone. No signal. "Typical. Looks like we're stuck here for a bit," Jordan said, dragging over a thick knit blanket from a nearby chair and tossing it onto the floor between us. "This place gets weird during storms. You'd think with all the money I pay for the space they'd have updated the wiring." I laughed softly, tucking my hands into my sleeves. Kind of romantic, though, in a creepy, almost got murdered by my high school crush kind of way. He raised a brow. "High school crush, huh?" I froze, realizing what I'd just said. "I mean, crush of a space. Like, you know, tight, confined." He smirked, clearly amused. "Smooth." I looked away, cheeks burning. "Great. Real subtle." Eli Jordan shifted, lying back on the makeshift nest of the blanket, arms behind his head. "You're the only one who responded to the ad and didn't send me a selfie first," he said. "Just a message that said, 'If you're still looking, I'm available. I'll show up if you give me a chance.' That kind of stuck with me." I gave a shy smile. "Guess I was hoping you'd see something worth keeping." He turned his head toward me, eyes catching the flicker of candlelight. I always did. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I tried to laugh it off, but my voice caught. My chest tightened with the familiar ache of wanting something I'd spent years pretending not to. I lay back beside him, the blanket soft under my palms. We weren't touching, barely even close, but I could feel the heat from his body, a quiet magnetic pull. Silence settled again, but this one buzzed with unspoken things. I stared up at the ceiling, trying to focus on the wooden beams instead of how close his hand was to mine. "I used to sketch you sometimes," I said, voice low. He turned his head again. "Yeah? Back in school, just in the margins. Your eyes were hard to get right." He was quiet for a moment. "You should have shown me." I shrugged. Didn't want to make it weird. His voice softened. Maybe I wouldn't have thought it was weird. I didn't know what to say to that. Rain began pelting the windows more insistently. A sudden gust of wind sent a draft through the loft, and I shivered. Instinctively, Jordan reached over, pulling part of the blanket over me. His arm brushed mine. Warm, solid, deliberate. "Better?" he asked, his voice quieter now. "Yeah," I murmured, not trusting myself to say more. His hand lingered. Not entirely intentional. Not entirely casual either. My breath hitched. I wanted to lean into him. Just shift slightly and let our shoulders touch. Let his body warmth ground me. But I stayed still, afraid of ruining this, whatever it was. He let out a small sigh. God, I forgot how nice it is to just be with someone who gets it. No pressure, just space to be. I swallowed hard. "Is that what this is?" He turned his head toward me again. "You tell me." My heart raced. I felt like I was balancing on the edge of something fragile and dangerous and beautiful. Every part of me wanted to close the distance, to let years of silent hope finally crash forward. But fear held me still. Jordan sat up slightly, looking down at me. The way he studied me wasn't passive. It was like he was waiting for something. A green light. A sign. I met his eyes and whispered, "Do you ever think about how things might have been different?" He nodded slowly. More times than I'd admit. I sat up too, our knees brushing. My fingers toyed with the fringe of the blanket, and I dared a glance at his mouth, soft, parted slightly like he was about to say something important. His hand moved toward mine. His fingers grazed mine. Just a light touch. Barely there. But it was everything. "I keep thinking," he said, voice low. "If I'd said something back then, would you have said it back?" I turned fully toward him, heart pounding. Probably. His eyes flicked between mine, searching. "And now?" "I don't know," I whispered. "I think I'm still scared." "Of what?" "That I'm reading this all wrong. That you're being kind because that's who you are. And I'll mess everything up again just by wanting too much." Jordan's gaze softened. "Eli, I don't say things I don't mean. You should know that by now." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My throat felt tight, my chest buzzing with everything I wasn't sure I was allowed to feel. He reached up slowly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear with the back of his fingers. The touch was feather-light but sent electricity down my spine. "I think," he said gently. "We've both been waiting a long time." My breath trembled, but I didn't look away this time. Neither did he. The loft felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that made your heartbeat sound too loud, like it was echoing inside your ears. Outside, the rain had softened into a gentle drizzle, but the storm inside me only grew louder. Jordan was still watching. Me, his hand now resting near my face after brushing that strand of hair away. We were so close I could see the tiny flecks of gold in his irises. I'd only ever noticed that in sunlight before, but now in candlelight, they looked warmer. Like something buried deep inside him had finally surfaced. "I don't know how we got here," I whispered. "One second I was walking into your studio thinking this would be like any other job, and the next, I feel like I can't breathe around you." His brow furrowed slightly, but he didn't pull away. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" I looked down. "Because I didn't think I was allowed to want this." He blinked slowly, as if the weight of those words hit him somewhere personal. "You're allowed to want anything." I gave a breathy laugh, but it was shaky, uncertain. "Even you?" His jaw tightened, just a flicker. But he didn't look away. "Especially me." That broke something in me. I sat up straighter, my hands gripping the blanket between us. I used to picture this, 100 different versions of it. You looking at me like this, saying something that made it okay to feel what I've always felt. And now that it's real, I don't know what to do with it. Do you think I've never thought about it? He said softly. I met his gaze. Again, my voice barely audible. Have you? He didn't answer right away, just watched me, like he was deciding whether it was safe to let go of whatever he was holding inside. I used to see you in the hallway, he said eventually, voice almost hushed. Back when we were kids, you'd always sit on that bench, near the art room with your headphones in. I wanted to talk to you so badly, but I didn't know what I'd even say. You were the confident one, I said, surprised. Everyone liked you. Yeah, he muttered. Everyone liked me. But you notice me. There's a difference. That stopped me cold. I didn't know how to handle that, he went on. So I didn't. I ignored it. Buried it under being friendly, funny, detached. It was safer to pretend I didn't see the way you looked at me. Heat flushed through my cheeks. You did notice. Of course I noticed, he said more forceful now. And it scared the hell out of me, because if I let myself feel anything, it would have changed everything. And I wasn't ready. I swallowed hard, my chest tightening. Are you ready now? The question came out before I could stop it. Honest. Raw. He looked away for the first time, exhaling slowly. I think I've been ready longer than I've been willing to admit. My heart thudded, and I reached out, hesitantly, my fingers brushing his. He didn't move away. His fingers curled slightly, meeting mine halfway. You don't have to pretend anymore, I said. Not here. Not with me. His eyes met mine again, and this time there was no retreat. No wall. Just him, open and terrified and real. I don't know what this looks like, Eli, he admitted. I don't have a roadmap for this. All I know is that when you walked in today, I felt something I thought I'd buried years ago come back to life. That's enough for me, I whispered. There was a beat, a breath, and then slowly, cautiously, he leaned in. My heart seized, but I didn't pull back. Our foreheads touched first, just the softest press of skin, like we were testing the air between us. His breath was warm on my lips, and I could feel the hesitation in him mirrored in me. If I kiss you right now, he murmured, everything changes. I nodded, just once. Maybe it's time it did. He let out a shaky breath. Tell me you want this. I do, I said. I want you. That was all it took. His lips brushed mine, so softly it was almost more suggestion than kiss. But it sent a jolt through me like I'd been waiting for this exact moment for years. His hand moved up to cradle my jaw, and the kiss deepened, still tentative but more sure now. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't fireworks or cinematic music swelling. It was slow, tender, and a little clumsy, like we were both learning how to touch each other for the first time. But it was real. When we finally pulled apart, my forehead rested against his, both of us breathing a little harder than before. I didn't think this would ever happen, I said, almost laughing. Me neither, he replied. But now I'm wondering why the hell we waited so long. We sat in silence for a moment, fingers intertwined now, his thumb brushing gently over my knuckles. I'm scared, I admitted. Not of you, just of losing whatever this is. Before it even begins. Jordan pulled back just enough to meet my eyes again. Then let's not let it go. Let's take it slow, figure it out. I'm not going anywhere. I gave him a watery smile, the kind that came from feeling too much all at once. You sure? I'm sure, he said, then added with a smirk. Though, if I'd known modeling jobs ended like this, I'd have hired you years ago. I laughed. pushing his shoulder lightly. "Shut up." But he just grinned, his free hand tugging me closer. And this time, when we kissed, there was no hesitation. We didn't move for a long time. Jordan's arm was still wrapped around me, our legs tangled beneath the blanket, his thumb lazily brushing the inside of my wrist like he couldn't stop touching me now that he'd started. And I didn't want him to. Every inch of me felt aware of him, of the way his body fit beside mine, the warmth radiating from his skin, the smell of rain still clinging to his shirt. I should have felt awkward or overwhelmed. Instead, I felt quiet inside, like something that had been screaming in me for years had finally gone still. "So," he said after a beat, voice husky with leftover emotion, "do I need to formally apologize for the whole take off your clothes thing, or?" I laughed, burying my face into his shoulder. "You're never living that down." I figured. He rested his chin on my hair. Though in my defense, it worked. "That's not a defense. That's just you, being hot and accidentally persuasive." "Accidentally?" He pulled back with a mock-wounded look. "You think I accidentally convinced you to strip in my studio?" I gave him a lazy smirk. "I think if you'd asked with your actual feelings instead of pretending to be all business, we could have avoided, I don't know, emotional whiplash." He raised a brow. "You're saying I should have just kissed you when you walked in." I paused, pretending to think. "Yeah, actually, that would have saved us a whole lot of rain and sexual tension." He chuckled, his fingers drifting lightly along the back of my hand. "I didn't know you'd still feel this way. I didn't think I deserved to find out." The honesty in his voice softened me. I shifted closer, tucking my head under his chin. "Well, you do. And I'm tired of pretending I don't want this." He was quiet for a moment. Then softly, "What do we do now?" I thought about that. About the real world outside the loft, with its expectations and messiness and history. "We figure it out," I said. "Together. Slowly." "You still want a model for me?" he asked, voice teasing now. "Depends," I said, lifting my head. "Are you going to make me take off my clothes again?" He grinned. "Only if you want to." I kissed his cheek just because I could. "Guess I'll have to renegotiate my contract." He laughed, full and real, and I felt something in my chest open at the sound. "I'm scared too," he admitted, quieter now. "I've never done this with someone I actually care about. I don't want to mess it up." "You won't," I said. "But we might mess up together. And that's okay." He nodded, holding me tighter. "I don't want this to be a moment. I want it to be something we build." "It can be," I said. "It already is." Outside, the rain had finally stopped. The city lights reflected off the wet pavement, shimmering like something reborn. The air smelled clean, like a new beginning. And for once, I didn't feel like I was standing at the edge of something uncertain. I felt like I'd already stepped in. Jordan kissed the side of my head. "Do you want to stay tonight?" I tilted my head toward him. "Are you asking me to sleep with you?" He blinked. No. I mean, yes. But not like, just," I grinned. "Relax, I'm teasing. Yes, I want to stay." He let out a breath of relief and leaned back against the wall, pulling me with him. I curled into his side, and he draped the blanket over both of us again. For the first time in a long time, the silence between us felt full, not empty, and I knew, no matter what came next, we'd be okay. Morning crept in gently, sunlight cutting through the gray loft windows in pale gold streaks. I woke up with Jordan still beside me, our legs tangled, his arm draped loosely around my waist like it belonged there. I didn't want to move. I just Lay there for a while, watching the light crawl across his bare shoulder, listening to the quiet rhythm of his breathing. Everything about him, his warmth, his nearness, the way his fingers twitched slightly in sleep, felt impossibly intimate. It wasn't a dream, and that thought alone filled my chest with something fragile and overwhelming. When he stirred, his eyelids fluttered open, and his gaze landed on me. His expression softened instantly. "Hey," he murmured, voice rough with sleep. "Hey." He reached out, brushing a thumb across my cheek. "Still here? You sound surprised." He gave a sleepy smile. "I am, but I'm glad." I rolled onto my back, staring at the ceiling. You ever think about how weird this is? Like, we used to just orbit each other. Now you've seen me half naked and emotionally stripped down in the span of 24 hours. He let out a soft laugh. I think that's the modeling industry in a nutshell. I nudged him with my elbow. Stop being charming. Can't help it. You're here. It's doing something to me. We lay there for a moment, quiet but not uncomfortable. I found his hand beneath the blanket and laced my fingers through his. "I'm supposed to go back to the agency tomorrow," I said eventually. "Real life's still happening." "Yeah," he said, thumb rubbing slow circles into my knuckles. "But it doesn't have to mean we go back to pretending." "No more pretending," I agreed. "I want this, whatever this is. I want to figure it out. With you." His grip tightened. "We'll take it slow. I want to do it right. We already did something right," I said. "We said the truth out loud." He smiled at that, small but real. "I haven't told anyone about how I feel. Not really. Not even myself." I looked at him. "So what changed?" He met my eyes. "You did. You walked into my studio with your open heart and ridiculous nervous energy and made me feel something I hadn't in a long time. You made me want to risk it." I swallowed hard. "You're worth the risk." We lay there, quiet again. But this time it felt like the calm after a storm, not the uneasy pause before it. Eventually Jordan sat up, running a hand through his hair. "I was going to make coffee, but I kind of want to make you pancakes. Is that too much?" I laughed, propping myself on my elbows. "Pancakes sound perfect." He stood, stretching in the soft morning light, and grabbed a hoodie from the chair. Before he walked away, he turned back and looked at me, like he was seeing me for the first time. "What?" I asked, a little self-conscious under the weight of his gaze. He stepped over, leaned down, and kissed me gently. "Nothing. Just, I like the view." I rolled my eyes but couldn't stop smiling. "Go make your pancakes, Picasso." He snorted, disappearing into the kitchen with a smirk. I lay back, listening to him hum tunelessly as he opened drawers and clattered around looking for ingredients. There was something beautiful in the domesticity of it all, in the knowledge that we were building something small, tender, and real. On the nightstand, my modeling contract still sat folded beside his sketchbook. I reached out and touched the edge of it, thinking about how this all started. An audition, a dare, a door I never expected to open. And now, this. As I curled back beneath the blanket and let the morning settle around me, I realized that this wasn't the end of something risky. It was the beginning of something honest, of us.